Thanks for tuning in to the Football Talk Squadron. I'm Dutch.
I'm Maul.
And I'm Pops.
This is our college football prediction episode. So how we're going to break this down, we'll go through last year's playoff, just the teams that we're in, who we don't think is going to make it. Then we'll go conference by conference, give you sort of our lookout for each conference. Then go into this coming season's playoff, just who do we think is going to be in it. And then we'll end up going through the games and give you a natty championship for each of us. Last year, we thought we had it pretty well figured out with Georgia and Oregon, and then both of them ended up losing. Every single team that got a bye ended up losing. So we'll see if that factors in anybody's decision factors this time when deciding the playoffs. But to go over last year. So last year, 2024 playoffs, the big changes, I'm going to read these out and you're going to go, man, Boise State and Arizona State are high. They're doing away with, if you win your conference, you're getting an automatic bye. They're just changing it to still the top 5 highest rated conference champions will be in, but that does not mean that they're going to fall 1 through 4. They're going to rate them. So you could easily have, all of us are probably going to have somebody at 12 that is a non-Power 5 school that I don't even think will be ranked in the top 12 when it gets time for the committee to say so. They're probably going to be like, here's number 22 team. And that's the team that will be sitting in at number 12.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost a guarantee, right? Like, which I guess is better from last year's playoff, but it's still just as dumb because it almost makes like the ranking not matter even more at that particular venture. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to have a Liberty or a Tulane that's probably like in the mid-20s, maybe high teens, depending on what their record is, that's going to get, guaranteed into the conference. And everybody's going to complain about that this year because, again, you're going to have some random team that, although there'll be a lot of reasons like why they should be in, but...
You know whose fault this is? It's your fault. It's your fault. It's USC's fault because Pac-12 dissolved. If the Pac-12 was still a conference and we had 5 Power 5 conferences, we wouldn't care. But now I'm sitting here and just give you a heads up of who I picked. I got Navy in at number 12. Why? Because I looked through all these other just trash teams and I couldn't think of anyone else. I was like, well, maybe they'll get a sympathy vote for America or something. But God bless. Dude, it makes the playoffs unbearable with predicting this because you just what you said. Like, dude, you go to like the Sun Belt or the AAC, you're like, which one of these trash teams is going to make this and just get absolutely smacked by the number 5 team? Like, it's dumb. It's so dumb.
Well, and I don't know the answer to this. Speaking of Pac-12, like, they're still technically a conference.
Yes, they are.
But does that one not count? Like, what's happening with that?
Well, right now it's only 2 schools, so it's Washington State and Oregon State. Now, they did add next season, like they pulled Boise, but they also added Texas State, which I know Pops lives in Texas, but even he probably is like, Texas State, who is that? It's some team that looks like they have a kindergarten draw their logo on the side of their helmet like a Wildcat. I just sit back and I look at it and I go, these super conferences look great in terms of like profit sharing amongst the conferences, but it destroyed sort of the idea that we were going with. And I think every one of the Power 4 conferences would love to be like, yeah, it's no longer the top 5, it's just the top 4.
Yeah,
but
that makes the only sense for some, like the way the conferences are broken down. I don't know why they have 5, but it just throws this weird wrench into the mix where, again, you're almost praying to be. I don't know how the bracket is going to be laid out, but you're almost praying to be like the number 4 team, just in the off chance that Navy can beat whoever number 5 is, and you get an easy path to the semis.
The playoffs is wrong because in the NFL, the number 1 seed, regardless of who wins, will face the lowest ranking seed remaining.
They don't reseed. They're not reseeding, which again is another. It's like, cool, you tried to get a little better, but it's still screwed up and it sucks.
Yeah, 100%. So we'll see if Pops is able to make it back on. I just saw he dropped off. But I'll give it to you first with the teams that read off last year, just so we go over it. One was Oregon, two Georgia, three Boise State, four Arizona State, five Texas, six Penn State, seven Notre Dame, eight Ohio State, nine Tennessee, 10 Indiana, 11 SMU, 12 Clemson. Which of those teams do you have not making it this year?
I have 5 of those teams not making it this year.
Okay. Who you got?
In no particular order. Tennessee, Arizona State, Boise State, SMU, and Indiana. I don't see getting back in. Arizona State is a very high probability for me, just because breaking down the Big 12 is hard enough as it is. So that's an absolute flip of the coin just to get off the bat. I know losing Scattaboo is this big, like, oh, you lost your best player, it's over. But if you look at like returning production, Arizona State's got the best percentage of like returning production in the Big 12 right now. So they have a high probability of making it back. I just didn't pick them because, again, it's the Big 12, and I'm just trying to, it's going to be a mix-up.
Well, I mean, last year Arizona State, as ranked by preseason polls, was finished dead last.
I mean, the entire conference was flip-flopped. Everybody who they thought was going to be at the top was at the bottom. Everybody who they thought was going to be at the bottom ended up at the top. So it's a complete coin flip at this point. So because it's a coin flip, I'm just going to go off of a probability that the repeat champion won't be. It's like the NFC East. Like it's hard to repeat as that champion.
Ain't that the truth? For me, I only had 4. So I had Boise State, Tennessee, Indiana, SMU. Boise State losing Genty, I think that's a huge loss. The crazy thing is I still think Boise State theoretically probably has the best chance to get in because non-Power 4 champion, highest rated. If they can just win their conference, there's a good probability that I really think for them the name helps, because even if they have 2 losses, they're going to sit back and be like, do you want Boise State or do you want Bowling Green?
They get like the Ohio State treatment when it comes to non-Power 5 conferences. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Anytime Boise State is even remotely good because they've had continued success in the past, people will naturally gravitate to them of like, ooh, this is a name I know. Like, let's like you said, let's rank them higher than Miami of Ohio, or like, what, Bowling Green, like whatever you said. Like, they're going to choose Boise State. So yes, they probably have the highest probability from like that non-Power 5 to get back in.
If you just throw out some school that you're like, I wonder if they have a reading in the blind section on their football team, then that's definitely non-Power 4. Yeah. Bops, now that you're back in, what teams do you think are not going to make it out of the 2024 playoffs? Who'd you have down?
I think it'd be tough to shoe in Boise State just because, they lost their main source of their offense. You took away the running game, and we saw exactly what happened to them, when you take out Genty. I think they're going to be out, if you ask me. I'd want to say Clemson, but when you look at the ACC, you're just like, man, Clemson is decently 500 every single year, and we always give crap to, hey, when is Dabo going to get fired? But he seems to put a team together and somehow find a way back in. They would be on the fringe for me. I don't think Arizona State's coming back. I mean, it's kind of the same thing with Boise State. Scatterbo's in the pros now, and we'll see if he makes it out of training camp. But I don't think Arizona State will be back in either. For all the other big teams, the Power Fives, man, it's too hard to tell. In my opinion, I've got a lot of them returning back. Be a big question mark with Notre Dame. Was this just one season for Marcus Freeman, or are they going to be back full time? For the next couple of years.
Yeah. We'll see. Notre Dame's got a trickier schedule opening up. They got Miami and Texas A&M right off the bat, so they get to sort of play. For them, they really set their season up right off the get-go.
Have you guys already started trash talking Carson Beck being at Miami?
No, I mean I was going to save that for later.
Open the door.
Or no, you know what? We'll save it for later because yeah, you said Miami, and I'm just not listening.
Well, you brought up a great point, and this is going to be like my theme throughout the entire episode today, and it's schedule construction.
Mm-hmm.
Like 90% of what I have for my answers isn't built on like, oh, I know these players or like they've got X amount of talent. Like I just purely looked at schedules. And again, if there's another thing that college football does that is just absolutely criminal from what is wrong and why it's losing so many people fan base wise, is that their schedule construction is abysmal. They've gone to these Power Four conferences, and the whole push for these playoffs is like, we want to see the 12 best teams in. Okay, well, how do you figure out who those best 12 teams are? They've got to play other good talent to know whether or not they're good. Like, I don't care if you can beat Austin P and Marshall by 70 points. That doesn't prove you're a good team. And all of these teams have just cupcake schedules. I didn't do a ton of research. I just did a little bit, okay? But I'm gonna read off how many big game matchups are missing this year. And it's out of control. Oregon, Ohio State don't play each other. Oregon, Michigan don't play each other. Texas, Bama doesn't play each other. Texas, LSU doesn't play each other. Texas, Ole Miss. Texas, Tennessee. Penn State, Michigan. USC, Ohio State. Miami, Clemson. Literally the only two teams that have a possibility of winning the ACC don't even play each other. Texas A&M and Bama. A&M and Georgia. Like, all of these teams that are in these high top 25 preseason rankings that everybody's excited about. And again, I didn't do a lot of research. That was like 5 minutes worth of searching, and my pen ran out of ink.
Yeah, just crap on Texas.
Nobody's playing anybody. Like, there's very few games. And you can call me conspiracy theory about like it's intentional, because if all of these good teams only have one or two losses, there's no mix-up, and it's easy because the preseason rankings end up kind of being the same anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, we talked about Notre Dame, how they've set up their two at the beginning, which is very, very Notre Dame, because they could lose those two games, but because they're at the beginning of the season,
Everybody forgets about it.
End up running the table by the end and still end up 10-2, and they're 100% getting in the playoffs at 10-2.
Northern Illinois has entered the chat.
Yeah, I was going to say until you're Northern Illinois.
Now, only because Pops is not set up from his home location, and I know that if David hears this thing, he's going to be sitting back and be like, you want to talk about schedules? Why don't we go look at Mississippi State? Mississippi State's got to go play Arizona State, Tennessee, at A&M, at Florida, Texas, at Arkansas, Georgia, at Mizzou versus Ole Miss. And I know that he's sitting back there along with Florida fans, and they're like, Texas, yes, Pops, I know you're a homer. They're getting a bye.
Yeah.
Mississippi State and Florida have been put, because all they did with the schedules from last year to this year is if you played them away, you're not playing them at home. Yep. Mississippi State and Florida are literal purgatory for these 2 years. Like, I think that Lagway's really good, and I sort of wanted to put Florida higher, but you look at their schedule and you're sitting back and you're like, they at LSU, at Miami, Texas, at A&M, Mississippi State versus Georgia, at Kentucky, at Mississippi, Ole Miss, or versus Tennessee, Florida State. And you're just like, I can't do it. Like, they're going to drop 2 or 3 games. It's just, I think they're a good team. They have a good quarterback, but there's no way I can pick either one of those teams to have any type of success.
Not to pile on the gut, but I feel like people would rather play Mississippi State than Vanderbilt at this point. So,
well, yeah, right here. I'll take Mississippi State after playing Georgia for 1,000, Alex, because last year it didn't work out too well for us. Yeah.
Listen though, I mean, while we're on the subject, like, because what would people's responses to that be? Oh, what, you want them to play like 12 straight hard-ranked matchups? Yes, that's exactly what I want. Like, you built this super conference in the SEC saying like it just means more. We've got all the talent. Okay, then play the talent. Play them. I don't care if you go 9-3. I don't care if you go 8-4. If you've got this absolute rock solid schedule. Like, I want to see those games. Like, I don't want to see the Indianas who show up at 11-1, and then it's clear in the first 5 minutes of the game these dudes do not belong. Like, because I mean, I'll admit I was pulling for Indiana last year because I wanted them to get the chance. The problem is when they've never had the chance all season because they're not playing anybody good. Like, you don't want those to be your playoff games. Like, everybody complained about, like, oh, these playoff games suck. Yeah, that's because the schedule throughout the entire season sucked. Like, if you get all of those matchups out of the way during the regular season, then you truly know who's going to be the good matchups in the playoffs. And that is where all the money is made. So that's where they should put their focus.
And that's
soapbox.
and that's
Dumb.
well,
Thank you.
and you know, to pile onto that, so to leave the soapbox open, that's the one thing for me with Texas is that, you know, if they make it through the big games, then, you know, the rest of the season they're just able to fly through. And it seems like they're setting them up to get them back into the playoffs. And, you know, they spent $40 million on the roster this year, but it's like, you guys are going to get to the playoffs and have to play a tough team, and then you guys get bounced in the first round, you know, or maybe second round if they get the bye, whatever happens. But, you know, it's just one of those situations that Texas is setting themselves up for failure.
You heard me throw the USC Ohio State game in there. Not that anybody really thinks USC is going to be like a major threat this year. You know, we're, to be completely honest, but from a USC fan, if we were to surprise people and all of a sudden like make this run, I'm sorry, like, you got to beat Ohio State. You're in the Big Ten. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't get. We might be able to sneak in because we're USC, right? It's a name that people recognize. But like, if you don't surprise people with those wins, you're never going to get back into the graces of like, oh, these guys are legit.
100%. Well, the time has come for Miami. Let's go right into the ACC conversation. Over under 30 interceptions. How many Carson Beck have this year?
I'll take the over.
That's a ton. I don't think he's going to have that much.
Yeah, 30 was a lot, but still at the same. But I think everyone in their mind was like, you know, it's for sure going to be double digits. I think he had that in like 4 games last year, or at least halfway through the Bama game. I think he threw 4.
Well, and this is one of those. This is one of those things too with Miami. You know, with Carson Beck going that way, he's kind of taking a step down. You know, leaving the SEC, going to the ACC. You know, so he's going to probably look better on paper than what he truly is after this season.
It's not a bad take.
I think he'll do better in Miami than he did at Georgia because Miami has better wide receivers. I know Georgia this year, they got Zachariah Branch from USC. He didn't do a whole lot last year with USC, but he's still super talented. But Georgia's always been like, when Georgia's super successful, it's not because they're throwing, it's because they're running the football. Yeah. Like, that's where Georgia's game's built. Carson lost them games last year because they just didn't need you to turn the ball over. Like, that's what Georgia cares about. We have a good defense. We have a good offensive line. Run the football. I just need you to be a game manager. He couldn't do that. He'll still test Miami, and the bad thing for Miami is they're not going to have the defense that Georgia did to help bail him out. Mm-hmm. But from that standpoint, when you said that you were thinking about eliminating Clemson from the playoff contention, I was about to be like, I don't know if you looked at an ACC schedule, but there ain't a chance on God's green earth that Clemson's not winning the ACC this year.
If Klubnik just has like an aneurysm and completely melts down, that's my thing. Like, I'm with you, Dutch. Like, Clemson, it's absolutely Clemson's to lose. Like, if Clemson doesn't win it, it's their own fault and something else happened. But to me, it's Clemson 100%.
I'm just going out early. Klubnik's going to win the Heisman because the ACC. Like, Klubnik, when you look out across the quarterbacks, who's better? And if you say Arch, Pops, I'll punch you right in the face because ain't nobody seen Arch play.
Yeah, exactly.
He could easily be better.
Yeah, but he hasn't thrown a single pass. I mean, he got in the game last year. All he did was run the ball.
That's only, like, this is where I'm sort of at with Clemson. It's like, I think that Klubnik's going to put up really good numbers and Clemson will look really good because they just don't play anybody. Yep. Like, SMU is not going to be SMU again. Like,
You're not
I feel like that's a one-hit wonder.
you're not buying into Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech's my number 3 team.
Okay.
Like in the ACC, I really do think that Georgia Tech has the ability to play in the ACC championship against Clemson. Like Haynes King is a good quarterback, and they test. I mean, if they just knew how to run a 2-point play, if they had practiced that at any point in the year, then they would have beat Georgia in 6 overtimes. But it was clear. I mean, I remember the coach at the end of the second overtime was like, "Yeah, let's kick it for 1," and even the announcers were like, "You're a head coach. You should know. You got to go for 2 now." Like Georgia Tech was not prepared for that moment, which I think I called Maul after. Either called Maul or somebody else. I think it was either him or my dad, and I was just like, like this is the difference for me with Saban. Saban would run probably a whole 30 minutes at the end of practice on just 2-point plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, coach, we're playing Louisiana Monroe. He's like, I know, but we're gonna run these 2-point plays. Like, because if it comes down to a game, we're gonna know what to do. So I had just my top 4. I had Clemson, Miami, Georgia Tech. I still had an SMU at number 4. I put a / Louisville. Those are the teams that I'm looking for out of the ACC. I still think ACC championship is going to be Clemson, Miami. What about you guys?
That's what I got. Clemson, Miami. Georgia Tech is a 3rd. I didn't even have a 4th. I didn't go that deep.
Yeah, I was going to go Clemson and Georgia Tech.
There we go. You got Georgia Tech winning ACC championship, or you got Clemson winning?
I'd put Clemson. I don't have the faith that Georgia Tech's ready just yet, but you never know.
Taking my notes.
Real shit. Does anybody have any other team other than the ACC championship in the playoff?
I had Miami.
So you have Miami and Clemson?
Yes. This is. I've debated. This is like conspiracy level theorists. Just hear me out. Big Ten, like I don't know if y'all kept up with this, but they're talking about expanding the playoffs. And one of the big like gate stops right now is that the Big Ten's like, hey, if we expand, we get 4 spots. And surprisingly, the SEC is like, I don't think so. And they're wanting to negotiate more, just like, I think that it should not be a guaranteed spot that you're in. I think me and Pops talked about this on a different episode. This is what happens with conference championship games is they kill this whole ranking system, because then for the first time you get to see these 2 teams play one another, or they play one another again, and it muddles the water to the point that now, hey, the team that was number 1 all year, they lose. Do we knock them out of the playoff? And it's like, well, why? They got all the way to their conference. Why are they being punished for going to a conference championship game when Notre Dame doesn't go to one? Like, that's the big issue of this. And I have a hard time not picking 2 teams from each conference to go in at a minimum, because the second you pull any ACC or Big Ten, when one of those teams doesn't get in, you're getting 4 teams from another Power 4 conference. If not, I mean, there are people out there right now. I was looking through predictions. There are people that have 5 teams from the Big Ten making the playoffs this year. Like, I just sort of sit back and I just go, there's no way. As Maul pointed out at the beginning of the episode, the schedules aren't built in a way that I sit back and I go, yeah, those 5 teams clearly are better than everybody else. Yep. But that's where I'm at. So, but yeah. Do both of y'all only have Clemson going in?
Yes.
I'm guessing Maul does, since he asked.
Yeah, Clemson.
There we go.
I mean, to be honest, I got 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC, an ACC, a Big 12, the Power 5, and Notre Dame. Like, that's and to be honest, like, isn't that the way these conferences are built right now?
Yeah.
Like, Big Ten, SEC. Okay, you guys each get 4. We'll leave the rest to like fight it out. We don't care who the ACC championship or the Big 12 is. They each get 1. Notre Dame, as long as Notre Dame shows up, they'll get 1. And then the Power 5. So it's like there's a couple things of like, if Notre Dame doesn't show up, fine. Maybe somebody else the ACC or the Big 12 gets that second one. But
The
and
worst thing,
it's not how it worked last year, right? So I could be wrong, but
well, last year, I was literally about to say this. The only thing that helped SMU and these other teams sneak in was because you had Bama that lost to Oklahoma, Vanderbilt.
Mhm.
You take away either one of those losses, Bama's in over SMU,
100%.
and it's clear cut. All the SEC and Big Ten are thinking it. If you will just be competitive in the big games and not lose the small ones, you're getting in. Like that's all they want.
which is why I hate the way these schedules are constructed.
Yes,
because
100%.
that shouldn't make you the playoffs. That's ridiculous.
We need to have your whole solution to this, and I know we've discussed this before, is there has to be more of the conferences, especially the Big Ten and SEC, playing against one another during the year. I don't even care if it's Vanderbilt playing Illinois. At least have them play. That way we can at least sit back and be like, Illinois is better than Vanderbilt. So don't sit back and talk about your Vanderbilt win like it was good, because Illinois blew them out of the water.
Or in the case of, no offense, Dutch, like Bama, try to justify all of a sudden now that Vanderbilt is a good team and that's why you lost to them. You know what I mean? Like, because they do that all the time.
Did I say that last year?
No,
Please don't.
I'm just saying that's what people do, right? Like we've talked about this. Like
Milrow was trying to hit the popcorn guy in the first row of the upper deck.
I know. But instead of like when Bama loses, instead of people just being like, man, Bama played a really good game, everybody immediately goes, is Vanderbilt good this year? No, that's never been the answer. They've never been good. I'm sorry. That's not the answer. Like, so like you said, like if you get some of these better cross conference or just inter conference play, it's easier to compare apples to apples.
Brings us to the Big Ten. See who you got. I'll let you go first. Who's your teams that you are seeing in the Big Ten champion?
Obviously, Ohio State. I got Oregon end up going 12-0 over the season to make the Big Ten championship. Penn State, I got going 10-2. And then surprisingly, I got Nebraska going 11-1, which they could easily not, but they're kind of my dark horse surprise Big Ten team that's gonna make the playoff, simply just because I think we can all agree. I don't know. I guess I think Matt Rule is a great coach. I think he's a good football coach. He's finally getting kind of into his third year of like he's got some people who he's brought in that are, helping out. Raiola's still there. Like they didn't have a great record last year, but they were competitive in a lot of games. And I think this year they're going to kind of finally get over that hump. And again, not saying I think Nebraska's super good. I think they're going to be better than most people expect, but go look at their schedule. It's a very, very easy schedule as far as coming out of the Big Ten goes. I think I have to pull it up. I have them losing. I think they only play Ohio State, and I think that's probably their only one loss. But outside of that, like those are my Big Ten teams, and I think it's going to be Oregon and probably Ohio State in the because they don't even play each other. Ohio State and Oregon in the Big Ten championship, and I got Oregon winning it.
Pops?
Yeah, I've got Ohio State and Oregon as well. You'd like to expect that, Ohio State, what they did last year, they cashed it all in to get the natty. I don't think they're going to have the same success necessarily this season. They're just going to be naturally good. I mean, they're bringing back quite a bit of starters. Obviously, Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs are leading that conversation for their best players, but they've got 5 stars competing for quarterback this year. In my opinion, I think they're going to win the Big Ten, and then Oregon, and then I've got Penn State as well. But the number 4 team that's a surprise for me, I just got to give the nod to Illinois. They started making waves last year. I know you laugh, but they only play Ohio State next year, and they play them at home. So in my opinion, I think they have a pretty decent schedule to where they don't really play anybody, because the only other guys that were there were Indiana and Purdue. So I think Illinois has a pretty decent chance.
I looked it up. Nebraska's hardest game is Penn State.
Mm.
That's it. I mean, they could lose to some of these. Like they do play Michigan, they play Minnesota, Northwestern, Iowa. They do play USC, but like again, I don't expect USC to really be a threat. Like they've got to win the games, but from like a big time, like things that are going to matter in the Big Ten, the only one I feel like for Nebraska is Penn State. And if that's the only game they lose, I don't know. They're probably in.
Yeah, we all had the same conference championship game, Ohio State, Oregon. I had Ohio State winning that game. I still think Ohio State comes in with a loss. I still think Michigan beats Ohio State at the end of the year. I don't know what it is right now, but the whole Ryan Day is haunted by Michigan, I think, is a real thing. And this year they have to go to Ann Arbor. Ohio State lost a ton of talent, like on both sides of the ball. Now, Ohio State's really good at recruiting. They'll bring in a lot of young faces, but I think the thing that helps Michigan is they didn't lose a lot of depth. Like they still need a quarterback. They got the number one kid in the nation. We'll see how he
They
does.
also sucked last year.
Yeah, well, how did USC do against them?
We sucked last year too. It's gonna suck again this year.
Yeah, well, there's a reason you won't see Bama in my playoffs because we ain't that.
Sidebar: USC's got the number one recruiting class right now, 2026. So, double-digit top 300 recruits right now. So
Y'all still won't have a defense.
they're all gonna get NIL'd away by then. So,
If that's true.
I'm gonna take my win now.
I got Penn State in there as well. In terms of top three teams, Penn State has to play Oregon, and they have to play Ohio State. But outside of those two games, this whole 12, we said it last year, it's built for Penn State, the playoffs. Like, you're not going to be a conference champion, but you'll be good enough and win enough games outside of that. I still think Penn State, if Penn State had better wide receivers, I would put them more in the conversation of beating Ohio State. Because Aller, having that returning talent.
I think Aller is good. I think Aller is good. Mm-hmm. He's got a bad break there at that end of the game, but I think Aller, when you were talking about Klubnik winning the Heisman, I wouldn't be so bold to say Aller's going to win the Heisman, but when you're talking about like who's better, he was the first name that came to mind as far as like a reliable returning guy that knows what he's doing.
I think he is better than Klubnik. The only reason I give, because the Heisman is no longer this like this dude on any team.
Fair point.
Is that dude? It's the schedule. I think Klubnik puts up better stats. I think Clemson's undefeated. And when you sit back and they go, well, even if Clemson's undefeated and Aller doesn't beat both Oregon and Ohio State, they're gonna give the nod to Klubnik. That's just how they do it. It's a political race. I'm intrigued. I didn't know the Nebraska schedule until you said it, because my number 4 team that I see lurking is Michigan, just because I just can't trust Illinois. Like, I want it to bleed the orange for Dick Butkus and for Pops, just to give, they're the Bears colors. Pops doesn't even have to change his uniform out. He just turns it inside out. It's like, it's throwback Illinois jersey. Like, it's one of those ones that what's funny is about the Nebraska thing is, even with Illinois, and you brought it up, Pops, with Ohio State, years past, Ohio State, especially like with Urban, they would always drop some game that they had no business losing. Mm-hmm. It just turns out that here the past few years, it's been to Michigan. Like last year, there was no reason to lose that game to Michigan. Got popped. Like, at home. Like, now, hand it off to them. They came out in the playoffs. They had the stage set for them. It was great on Ohio State's part. They had Tennessee thinking they were going to take over, and no one knew it, but Nico was trying to hold out of the game. Mm-hmm. So when Tennessee came out, Nico was already halfway out the door, and then they blew out them, played Oregon from the snap of the ball was like, I don't know who Jeremiah Smith is. Was he on the scouting report? And he let them know why. They just walked into it. And then, sorry, Pops, but Ewers couldn't throw a football into a swimming pool Olympic size during that game. So that's I sit back my 3 teams: Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, in the playoff from that standpoint.
Y'all both,
Moving in,
y'all both have Ohio State winning the Big Ten.
Yes.
yeah,
Okay, I got Oregon.
you got Oregon. Yep. All right, Big 12, the conference that no one knows. Based upon, but when you cut out Pops, we were talking about how last year Arizona State was rated by people to finish dead last, and even Maul talked about it. The whole conference flipped upside down. Let me guess. Pops is going to go Deion Sanders. No. Okay, never mind. Go for it, Pops. Who you got?
I mean, honestly, I feel like this is a coin toss, and it's really until Arizona State did what they did last year. You know, you look at the BYU's, you look at the Iowa States, you look at the Utah. In my opinion, I think this year is going to be Utah versus Iowa State.
Who you got winning?
Iowa State.
Pops with the Iowa State
Dude, no way.
poll.
So I was literally just like, this is random, dude. Like, I can see Utah totally being a sleeper. Like, people just forgot because of how bad they were last year. But surprise, like Cam Rising's coming back. You know what I mean? He's got another year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Stetson Bennett reborn.
I'm just saying, like, Utah could absolutely like remind people, like, oh yeah, Utah's in this conference and run the table. I think the matchup is week 1, K-State, Iowa State. That's it. Now, again, it's a coin flip from like the beginning of the year. But I have them meeting week 1. Doesn't really matter who wins. They're going to meet back up in the conference championship. Coin flip. I got Iowa State as well.
Wow.
I know. Like, in the super random conference, we got the same guy. That's crazy.
Iowa State was my number 4 team in the conference. I had Kansas State being the number 1 team winning the conference. I was torn between Arizona State and one other team. This one other team, they did really well in recruiting. And every year they've been really closer to 500. It's just a matter, can they have that one year? It's Texas Tech. Like, I do think that, like, Mahomes is helping them money-wise, and he's getting them. I think they're doing well recruiting. They were able to pull, like, the number 1 offensive lineman, gave him, like, a $5 million per year deal, NIL. I just sit back and look at this conference. Texas Tech, I think, has the ability to sneak in. And if they do, they are the Arizona State from last year that I think the only reason I'm like, I lean Arizona State is the return of their quarterback. Yeah. Like, Scattaboo was huge. That game alone, of the whole playoffs, he was the MVP. Like, against Texas. The unreal. I just have a hard time floating Texas Tech right now, but they're the team that I would say would surprise people.
So, Pops, again, I think you cut out at this point, but we were talking about the Big 12. They did a percentage of returning productivity, which, because they were just like, it's so hard to pick the Big 12, so that this is the way we're doing it. Arizona State actually has the most productivity coming back. Number 2 was Texas Tech. So that's a great. I wanted to pick BYU. BYU would have been my pick if it weren't for Metzlaff-Ligon.
Yep.
If he stayed, they're my pick.
I was in the same boat.
Yeah, but you lose the BYU, dude, you're gone. It's over.
Turns out you can't have sex in college.
You can. You just can't do it and play for BYU.
Yeah. Not here, you won't. Sorry, we'll get some hate. You complaining about it to your sister wives. Final conference outside of the non-Power 4. Well, let's do that first. Non-Power 4. Who do you guys have sneaking in? You already know my pick, Navy. And the only reason I said Navy would be in if they didn't have to play Notre Dame. That's the only thing that, like, limits my pick of Navy is last year everyone's like, yo, Navy make the playoffs. They went and played Notre Dame. It was like 44-7. And people were like, ooh, that was awful. And it's like, yeah, that's non-Power 4 schools. Don't know what you were expecting. You look at the rest of their schedule, nobody outside of Army, and that's it. Like, they'll be sitting there at the end of the year with one loss to Notre Dame, and if they can just keep it close, if they can keep it competitive, I think they sneak in. What about you guys?
I got Tulane, and I can't even expand on that longer than I got Tulane.
I was going to say they let me down last year. I picked them last year to be my team, and I'm going to keep it in Louisiana. I'm just going to go with the Raging Cajuns.
Wow. Louisiana Lafayette. We'll find out. This is where it goes back to what me and I think you had cut off, Pops. This is the frustrating part. This is what like breeds the differences of how good the NFL is versus college. Mm-hmm. Is at no point like, yes, if you are sub 500 but you win your conference in the NFL, you're getting in. But you're going to be a number 7 seed. And you know what? Teams in the past, the Giants were terrible that year, and they went on to beat the undefeated Patriots. It's still an NFL team. They still had to compete against everyone else in that division, and everyone else in that division couldn't beat the Giants, and that's why the Giants got in. Like, that's why. Maul talked about that. We never got around to filming the episode, and I thought it was like a great point by Maul, and I'll remind him of it. And if he wants to take the lead on this, he can. Little side note. But I remember Maul was like, look up any NFL season. You go 2016 and you look it up and be like, who made the playoffs? And you can go through and you can figure out why each one of those teams was in the playoffs. Like, well, they won the conference. Okay, well, how did that wild card get in? Well, they had this win-loss record and the next team was this. It was clear cut of why this team was in and why they got in. And what happened in the playoffs, so be it. But there was no question about why they got in. Last year, Maul talked about it when we were off camera. He was like, this was the problem with Ohio State. Like, you look at other years past and you're like, okay, how did Ohio State get in? They're like, well, they won the conference. I was like, no, they didn't do that. Okay, well, they had really good wins.
No, they didn't.
No, they got beat by Michigan. Like, oh, well, Michigan's good. No, they were terrible. They're like, well, how did they get there? And it's like, well, they were Ohio State.
They're a brand.
Yep.
Yeah. There was not a rhyme or reason why they got in over someone else. Now, they still won it all. But when you go like back into history and you start like digging through it, you're like, how does this team get in? College doesn't have that. And you sit back and you look at this non-Power 4 school, like whoever you're picking, it's like, dude, good luck trying to defend whoever's getting in.
Exactly.
Like, the committee, the only thing they hope for is that somehow in your absolute atrocity of a schedule, you go 12-0, it makes it easy for us to put you in. But if all these schools are sitting there with like 3 or 4 losses and you're going to put like an 8-4 Liberty in, people are going to lose their minds.
Yeah, I cannot wait until it's like, well, what's the highest ranking team of the non-Power 4? And it's like, we don't know.
Yeah, they're not even top 25.
Yeah, none of them are ranked. What do you do? Like, do you expand the rankings? Like, what do you do?
Wouldn't that be funny if after number 25 they were like number 41 Navy? It's true. That's like, it's gonna happen. It's one of those ones. It's an inevitability that eventually it's gonna happen, and I hope that it does sooner rather than later. That way we can just eliminate it, because we don't want to have an honest conversation in college football, which is, hey, I hate to break it to you, Marshall's never making the playoffs outside of this clause, which is if you somehow go undefeated and are just the number they weren't made for this. This is why, like, say the Pac-12 screwed this up, because this whole premise was written upon these 5 separate conferences. Like, and no one wanted to be left out, so they wrote this in there that way someone wouldn't get left out. But when that Pac-12 went away, it screwed it up, which it was the Pac-12 conference commissioner's fault because of revenue sharing. Maul talked about it. I still remember being over Maul's house. We were sitting by his pool, And he's like, you know what's infuriating me? USC's playing right now, and I can't even watch them. You know why? Because the Pac-12 network's not covered out here. I can't even buy it if I want it to, which was the Pac-12's failure. That's why they imploded. Sorry. Ran over. Let's go into a different rant. SEC. Pops, go ahead and tell me all about Arch Manning.
I mean, it's hard to argue though. That's the worst part. Is because you look at the schedule. If they make it through, I find it hard to believe that they're not going to be in the SEC championship. Now the next part though is who's coming out of the East. Because are they going to put in Gunner for Georgia? I mean, that's the way that's looking right now. They got ETN coming back. They've always got a monster defense just sitting there waiting on reserves. And dude, this was a toss up to me because also we already talked about it, the sleeper team, South Carolina. What are they going to be doing in the background? So are they going to make a run this year while everybody else is down? For me, I'm going to go Texas against. I'll take South Carolina. I'm gonna do it.
And I'm guessing you got Texas.
Yeah, Texas is going to win, dummy.
Okay. Maul.
Wow, what a shocker. That was like the least shocked and most shocked I've been. Texas is in the SEC championship. Okay, cool. And then South Carolina. Dude, I'm with you on South Carolina. I like them so much this year. Unfortunately, this is a year for them that I think the schedule just doesn't quite work out in their favor. It works out for a lot of people, and I just think South Carolina is not one of them. I wrote down South Carolina in my top 12 in 2 separate spots, and eventually had to cross them out based on other schedules and who I thought was going to win where. So I'm with you on that one. I really do hope that they surprise somebody. Unfortunately, I don't have them. I have Texas losing to Georgia during the season, which is going to make Georgia undefeated. And then, this is a schedule thing, I got LSU going undefeated. All they really got to do is beat Bama. I think LSU could easily be 10-2, 11-1, or 12-0. If they can beat Bama, I think LSU's schedule sets up for them to also then be undefeated, which unfortunately takes Texas out of the SEC championship. So I got Georgia LSU in the SEC championship with Georgia winning.
I just can't trust Brian Kelly. As much as you always want to put LSU back up there, Brian Kelly's just too much of a gamble.
Well, so this was part of they open up the season with Clemson.
Mm-hmm.
So even if they lose that game, which like history says is like 90%, they're going to lose their opening big game. It doesn't even matter. Like it might matter ultimate ranking wise, but it's not going to matter for the SEC championship, right? So as long as LSU can beat Bama, and which if you look at the rest of their schedule, they should be able to take care of everybody else because LSU's schedule is pretty easy.
I mean, they got to play Ole Miss at home.
And South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Like there's other teams, but again, if you're talking like really big statement wins, like to me, the only big one is Bama for them. That's like a true hurdle that they got to get over. And I do think they can beat Bama this year. And even if they lose to Clemson, it doesn't matter. They're going to be undefeated in the SEC. And simply just because Texas is going to have the one loss to Georgia, in my opinion, that puts LSU in the SEC championship.
Y'all ready?
Let's do it.
Your 2025 SEC champion, South Carolina. So for me, the schedule is what it came down to. Yes, they go to LSU. They go to them a little early. They get them in mid-October.
Week 7, yep.
Yep. Last year helped. They beat LSU. They had a pick six that was called back. Shouldn't have been called. They had them. They had Bama. Had every bit of Bama. Should have beat them in Tuscaloosa. They get Bama at home this year. A few weeks later, the quarterback's always the issue. It's why, like Bama, I can't trust Bama. But the South Carolina's quarterback is great.
Dude, if that is even close to true, like if South Carolina is in that mix, Sellers is winning the Heisman because he's going to be the only reason that they're there, and I'm with you on that. But again, it's going to come to it. The way I see the season coming down is that they're going to just lose too many games. But if they're there, which again, I'm with you guys. Like I do like South Carolina. I'm with you. And if that gets even remotely close to true, Sellers is winning the Heisman.
And see, this is why I still got Klubnik, because who they play at the end of the year?
Clemson.
And if Clemson wins that game, Klubnik will get the nod. This is the sad part is the Heisman's no longer about who's the best player. It's a popularity contest. Because half the time we don't even talk about, like, I remember a few years ago there was a kid, I don't even remember what his name was. I think he played for like San Diego State or something that was just tearing it up. Penny, like
Rashad Penny.
Yeah, Rashad Penny tearing it up. And my man, I don't even think got an invite to the top 4. And they were just like, yeah, he's non-power 4, which is hilarious because now we're like, we'll make a playoff spot for you, but we ain't giving you a Heisman. Like, that's where we're at. I have South Carolina playing Georgia in the SEC championship. Texas is in the playoffs for me, and I only had those 3 making it. Texas loses week 1. Texas goes to Ohio State, loses. I think it's just too much for Texas. And it's not Arch. It will be Arch will be the storyline. Mm-hmm. It will be that offensive line. Yeah. They lost a ton, and that's hard to. I know Bama, when they won in 2020, they had the offensive line that won the award for best offensive line in the country. They could not replicate it the next year. It's so difficult, especially when you have Banks that's going at first rounders. Like, you just don't pull them every single year. It's difficult. Then you sit back and you look at Georgia. Like, I don't think if Texas couldn't beat Georgia at home, Texas ain't beating Georgia at Georgia. Plain simple. Can they beat A&M at home at the end of the season? A&M's like, yet again, this team. The only thing I can't ever pick A&M. I saw a stat I wanted to show you guys that in 2 times, like in the history of, in their history, like they've ever been like ranked or something, and one was Johnny Manziel and one was like with Bear Bryant. It was like, that's it. Yeah. So you can just go ahead and kick rocks to A&M because they're never going to do it. They're not built for it. So I got Georgia versus South Carolina. I have South Carolina usually plays Georgia. They don't play them this year. And every time that South Carolina is a little bit of good, South Carolina gives Georgia fits. I don't know what it is. It gives them fits. The only thing that helps Georgia in the SEC championship game, it's a home game. But the thing that helps South Carolina is it's not that far of a drive. Like, South Carolina's right there. So, and South Carolina fans would love nothing more than to put on their Steve Spurrier hat throwback and ride through Athens, throwing, fighting cocks out the window. So, that's what I got. Sorry, as I dropped my phone. So, playoffs. We'll go through your guys 1 through 12 first. That way I can get it written down. And then we'll go through matchups and who you got.
Just to throw on there, we didn't talk about them at all, but they're kind of like the relevant, non-relevant, but it's still who they are. They're going to make the playoffs for me is Bama. Like, we're talking about all these other teams, but like, tell me if the schedule doesn't kind of just play out as it should, a 2-loss Bama team is making the playoffs.
Depends on who the losses are to.
Well, I mean, yeah, if it's
that's what happened last year. If
it's only Georgia and LSU, they're making the playoff.
I don't mean to sound mean towards the kid because he really has never had a whole offseason, but their starting quarterback in Simpson has never been that guy. Like, time and time again from Milroe, it's like the thing with Arch Manning. Like, I don't even know if we talked about this. Steve Spurrier called out Arch. Like, not personally, but he was just like, I don't understand how, if he's supposed to be this guy, he wasn't playing when the guy that you did have didn't go into the last round to the Dolphins. Like, if he's the number one guy, if he's the best kid on the roster, why was he not playing?
Mhm.
There was no doubt Milroe was losing them games every single corner, like Vanderbilt, Oklahoma. And there were times he won them games, but overall was the main reason they were losing. And Ty Simpson wasn't the guy that you were sitting back like, where's the other kid? Like, that's my problem with Bama. The other problem with Bama is in years past, it was sort of like Kirby with Georgia. As bad as Carson Beck would play, Kirby had the defense that was at least going to keep you competitive. Saban's not there. So the defense isn't this like formidable task anymore. They were last year versus Georgia. I mean, Maul passed out because they were up 35-0. And I was sitting there sweating bullets in the fourth quarter, like I am never going to unhear it from Maul and Pops on this week's episode of how I watched the biggest comeback in history happen. And I'm sitting in a hotel room, throwing remotes out the window. So it don't even open. You just have to throw it hard enough, it just goes through. So I have a hard time picking Bama. I get the name and everything, but I love nothing more for Bama to be competitive and win another title. Until they prove that you can get a quarterback, ain't gonna happen. Sorry. Pops, top 12. Let me hear it.
Yeah, I've got Ohio State number 1.
Okay.
Texas be 2.
Okay.
Clemson will be 3.
Okay.
Oregon at 4.
Okay.
Georgia at 5.
Okay.
Penn State at 6.
Okay.
South Carolina 7.
Okay.
LSU be 8.
Look at there. Okay.
Iowa State 9.
Okay.
Illinois be 10.
Okay.
Buckle up. Georgia Tech 11. And then
somewhere.
And they give me my ULL at number 12.
Maul.
I wrote these rankings with the assumption, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, this is how I believed it happened. They're still going to rank the teams again after conference championships, correct?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
They're just after they're just not re-ranking them once the playoffs begin, but like to actually make the final seedings, they're re-ranking them after conference championships, right?
Yep.
Okay, so this might sound a little funny, but that was the assumption that I made, so this should hold true then, if you have questions. Number 1, I got Georgia. Number 2, I got Texas, which is weird because you're like, they're not even the SEC championship. Yeah, but they're going to use the assumption of like their only loss was to the eventual SEC champion, and then they just, they're going to boot LSU back down. So number 2 is Texas. 3 is Oregon. 4 is Ohio State. The Big Ten doesn't use the same logic as the SEC. Number 5, I got Notre Dame. Number 6, I got LSU. Number 7, I got Bama. Number 8, I got Penn State. Number 9 is Clemson. Number 10 is Iowa State. Number 11 is Nebraska. And 12 is my coin flip Tulane. Fully expecting that it's probably going to end up being Boise State anyway. But I just wanted to mix it up.
I had 1 Clemson.
Whoa.
2 Ohio State. 3 South Carolina. 4 Georgia. 5 Penn State. 6 Kansas State. 7 Texas. 8 Oregon. 9 Notre Dame. 10 Miami, 11 Arizona State, 12 Navy. Hey, I thought
lottery ticket?
Yeah, well, I mean last year I said UCF, so why not go bold again? All right, so we'll start off with the matchups. Pops, I'll go first with you. You got 12 Louisiana playing number 5, Georgia. I'm going to guess you got Georgia.
Yes. Sorry.
Maul, you got Tulane going against Notre Dame.
Notre Dame.
I've got Navy going against Georgia. I've got Georgia as well. Number 11 going against the number 6. Pops, you got Georgia Tech going versus Penn State. Who you
Penn
got?
State.
Maul, you got Nebraska having to go down to Baton Rouge against LSU.
Which, let's talk about that. That's one thing that I think also needs to change. I understand they've got the New Year's 6 bowls that they're trying to make.
Should be home
money off of
games.
and stuff. But yes, dude, the fact that you only get the home field advantage for that first round is stupid, in my opinion. Like, they need to reseed, and you need to go home field advantage all the way to the Natty.
100%.
I got LSU win.
I've got Miami playing Kansas State. I've got Miami winning.
Ooh.
Number 10 versus number 7. Pops, you've got South Carolina playing your beloved Illini.
Yeah. South Carolina's going to win.
Okay. Well, doesn't have the same love for Texas. Maul, you've got Bama versus Iowa State.
Bama.
I've got Arizona State versus Texas, rematch of last year. Texas comes out again. Final matchups, 9 versus 8. You've got same matchup that Maul had. Well, no, excuse me. Different matchup, but still LSU home field advantage. LSU, Iowa State for Pops.
And it'll be at LSU.
Maul, you've got an even better one. Penn State, Clemson.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game, I think. I got Penn State winning it, though.
Penn State. I've got Notre Dame playing Oregon, which will be a great matchup. I've got Oregon winning that game. All right, so the number 1 team is going to end up playing the winner of the 8 versus 9 for Pops. That's Ohio State versus LSU. Who you got?
Ohio State.
Maul, you've got number 1 Georgia playing number 8 Penn State.
Georgia.
I've got number 1 Clemson playing Oregon. I've got Clemson winning the game.
High on Clemson this year.
Oh, you about to find out.
No way.
Oh, just wait. It gets rich here in a minute. I went bold. Why not? No, no one picked Ohio State last year.
Dutch trying to make a name for himself. People say no name for this.
Maul's going to coach LSU by the end of this episode. Next matchup, number 2 is going to play the winner of 10 versus 7. Pops, you got Texas versus South Carolina. I'm not even going to ask. Texas is going to win the game. Maul, you've got Texas playing Bama.
Texas.
Both Texas guys. I've got number 2 Ohio State playing Texas. I've got Texas winning. I think that whoever wins the first matchup will not win the second. That's why I got Texas winning, which is funny because I'm guessing by your rankings, Pops, you don't have Texas winning the opener either.
No.
Real high on Texas.
I thought that was going to be Ohio State's only loss all season.
I'm just being realistic.
All right, number 3.
Hedge going.
Whatever it takes to believe, baby. Number 3, you've got the winner of the 11 versus 6. You got Clemson playing Penn State. Pops, who you got?
Clemson.
Maul, you've got number 3 playing number 6, which is LSU. Oregon versus LSU. Who you got?
Again, I think it's going to be a pretty good game, but I'm gonna take Oregon in this one. I think LSU falls short here.
I'm noticing a trend so far with you two. None of the top 4 teams have lost. Last year, none of them won.
That's fair.
Just throwing that out there.
It's different rankings, though.
That's true. That is true.
I mean, for real, like that's the whole reason. Like the teams that were top 4 last year shouldn't have been top 4.
Yeah.
Number 3 for me, I had South Carolina playing Miami. I got South Carolina winning the game. Final, number 4, playing the number 5 seed for both of us because no one had number 12. Pops, you got Oregon playing Georgia.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Oregon.
Maul, you've got number 4, Ohio State playing Notre Dame.
I got Ohio State. And can I just say, didn't you had Miami? If I'm still looking at Carson Beck's dumb face this deep into the season, dude, I swear to God, I'm gonna be so mad.
The problem with Miami is, and the reason I sort of had them there last year and I have them there this year, is the ACC is atrocious and they don't play Clemson. So if they both get there undefeated, I don't see how they punish one. And that was because Miami should have been there last year. They had it. They had it. They just couldn't win there at the end of the season when they needed to, and SMU snuck in.
I get what you're saying, but like, let's go back. There was a lot of times where Miami didn't have it. Cam Ward absolutely pulled them out of games, with Restrepo no less, and both of them are gone. If you think
Carson
Beck is doing Cam Ward like things, like I'll be the first one to say I'm sorry because there's no chance he's pulling them out of those games like that.
I had Penn State playing Georgia as my 4 versus 5. I got Penn State winning the game.
Wow.
I'm not a believer in Gunnar Stockton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a believer in the defense of Georgia. I think they have plenty of talent, but it's just, this has been the big trend in college football the last few seasons, which is your quarterback better be on, because if he's not, you ain't winning the game. Like, Gunnar Stockton couldn't win last year against Notre Dame, and they had every reason to. They had every reason to beat Notre Dame, and they could not do it because Stockton had no idea what to do. Was lost. Personal opinion. All right. Number 1 versus number 4. You've got Ohio State playing Oregon. Pops.
Yeah. This is where I think Oregon gets their revenge. I'm going to go Oregon.
Maul, you've got Ohio State playing Georgia.
Ohio State.
I've got Clemson playing Penn State. Clemson. Clemson's in the natty. Number 2 versus number 3. You got Texas versus Clemson. Pops. I can already tell by looking at your face.
Let me answer. Clemson.
For real?
Yeah, for real. I just don't think it's going to come back to it. I don't know if it's going to be a lack of Arch's experience or just Sarkisian in these big games. I just don't think that they're going to be able to pull it off. I mean, we saw it last year. Couldn't even put away Arizona State. Couldn't stop Scatterbo, even to the fact that he was passing the ball. There's just always those gaps that become real vulnerable, and I don't think that they're going to overcome it.
Did I miss the Clemson fan meeting? Like, y'all both have Clemson in the natty?
Yeah.
There.
Man.
I think their defense is going to be good. Clemson returned a lot. This has also been the trend. Last 2 national champions, really last 3 when you include Georgia. They got help by senior guys wanting to improve their draft stock and staying an extra year. Ohio State did it last year, had all these guys that went pro because they all stayed to win one. Year before, Michigan, exact same mantra. Year before that, Georgia, exact same mantra. Like, there was a reason they blew the brakes off of TCU as bad as they did, because half the dudes on defense went in the first round. Like,
point.
When you sit back and you look at Clemson, they didn't lose a lot of guys to the draft because they weren't viewed as this rock solid team. but now they're bringing back all these guys, including their quarterback. It's hard to go against them.
Yeah, especially in today's NIL where people are jumping programs left and right, and like they don't have the continuity. Like Clemson's not losing a lot of people to NIL; they got a lot of things in house. Like that's a great point. I'm not
Just
gonna
me.
believe either one of you, but that's a great point.
You've got number 2 Texas versus Oregon. Who you got, Maul?
Texas.
There we go. Who knew you were turning into Pops?
Me of all people. I hate Texas.
I got Texas versus South Carolina. This is where the dream ends. Texas wins. And you're going to get an all-orange national championship of Clemson, Texas for me. Pops, you got Oregon, Clemson, and Maul, you got Ohio State, Texas. Pops.
Yep.
Natty.
Yep.
Who you got? Oregon, Clemson.
Clemson.
There we go. Oh, you got Ohio State, Texas.
Yeah, I mean, it sets up perfect. I didn't try to do this. It just set up perfectly for like start the season, end the season. I think Texas is going to pull this one out again.
I've got Texas, Clemson. I've got Clemson. It's we'll see. Last time,
I don't want to say I hope you guys are right because I'm not a Clemson fan, but it would mix it up a little bit, you know.
I love it of both of your guys's. You guys have more. I hope that the playoffs work out more like you guys set up. Like I would love to see Nebraska, Ohio State. Pops has got Georgia Tech and Illinois and Iowa State. As long as they're deserved.
Yeah.
That was the only thing with Indiana last year is they got blown out versus Ohio State. And everyone knew like that one game was it. Because as soon as Ohio State lost to Michigan, everyone was like, Indiana has no business being in this. Everyone knew that, and they still got just schwacked by Notre Dame.
The hard part is the schedules aren't set up necessarily for them to be deserving. Like you're not gonna know whether they're deserving or not until the playoff game, and that was what I was saying. Like at the beginning, is like that's not the time to find that out. That's what's putting off so many fans of like people don't belong in the playoffs, and it's because you don't have the schedule structure to let them prove that beforehand.
It's a great point because I keep going. I want to do a whole episode on this of like the difference between college and NFL. The NFL doesn't have a problem most of the time. Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes the playoff games in the wild card round are not great because the wild card team, you're like, it's so. Last year was great playoffs. Usually, most years it's great playoffs because the teams who are in there are winners. Like it's been proven. They've played one another before. They've had or their conference opponents have played. You can see the links. Like you can draw out conclusions of how you think this is going to go.
Because it's based 100% on record, on like wins and losses, and they play all the other good teams. Like that's what it is. There's an objective. This is why. And that's kind of like the argument that we're using back. There's so many times, not even just last year, but like the last 10 years, where if you went back and looked at like who was in the playoffs or who was in contention, there's always this subjectivity of like, well, sure, maybe they had 12-0, but it was like they didn't play anybody, or like why did that team who was 12-0 jump that team who was 12-0? Like all the way back to like the early 2000s, stuff like that's been going on, and it's so hard to look back and follow the logic where again, there's the reason there's good games. And it's funny because I like the whole point of the committee was to try to create these good games by going like, we think these are the better teams, so we're going to force the matchup, therefore have better games. And again, leave it to the NCAA, who's screwed it up, and by doing so has created this atrocity that it is, and pairing teams that don't belong because it's all off of feel and like, oh, we're tired of seeing Bama, or like, oh, this is a Cinderella story that we got to let play out. Like whatever the reason, whichever side of the fence you sit on, that none of that should play a factor in getting into a playoff.
I'm gonna brag on us for just half a second. This is the difference, though. We come up with some predictions that we could be totally backwards in, 100%. End of the year, you're gonna be like, you remember how you
Pick
picked
Georgia Tech.
Miami to Carson Beck, looking like Man in Black should be entering the room to make into the playoffs, and y'all gonna make fun of me for it. But I guarantee you, by the end of the year, we all can sit back and list exactly what teams should be in, and it's not a problem. Every year they do it when it's time for the committee to like watch games. They'll like have a photo for the first time all season. All these jokers acting like they're watching the games. And I'm like, homeboy doesn't know what a quarterback is. Like he's like having to have explained to him what the first down. Like, oh, you can get a flag for that. I didn't know that. And it's like, why? Because this dude's an athletic director. The athletic director of Michigan is on the board, and you expect me to believe that in the last week of the season, like when he needed to watch the Iron Bowl, that he was like, "Yo, I need to leave the game up north in order to go watch some of these other games because it's my job." Like, get real. Absolutely kick rocks. Absolutely infuriates me to act like any of these people watch games. You should have fans vote, because at least then there'd be some, people who actually watch football games. If your DVR doesn't show some recorded games, get out of my face.
Passion backed up by logic of like why teams should make it. Dude, there was one when you talk about, they're like, oh, this is the committee like seeing who should get, and it's like a bunch of Mitch McConnells like laying in lazy boys, dude, and you're like, that guy's half asleep. He ain't watching no game.
That would have been a great meme, that Mitch McConnell. Why did you put SMU over Bama? Man,
For real, dude.
but it happens every year, and and the funny part is like, this is the thing that kills me with the whole CFP versus NCAA. Like when they're making these decisions, the NCAA is not in it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a CFP committee decision, and it's athletic directors and conference commissioners. Those are the ones that are deciding. The NCAA has been completely stripped of power. Like it shows it from this offseason. Like we didn't even talk about it with like Tennessee and Nico in NIL, and even Maul alluded to it with the USC. It's like, yeah, USC's got the number one class, and in years past, it was like, yo, dog, USC's coming, and it's like, no. All that did was every one of your recruits has got a target on his back to see who can give him more money to pull him somewhere else.
It's the what's the dude in the NFL with the mustache? The Washington State guy.
Oh, Minshew.
It's the Minshew effect. Like he went to Bama simply just to boost his like reference to like, hey, look, I'm good enough to play at Bama. Anybody want to sign me? And he ended up he ended up getting Mike Leach and turned his career. But like that's what it is. Like some of these guys, sure, they're committed to USC, but what does that even mean anymore? It means nothing right
now. 100%. It drives me insane, because no matter how wrong we are with predictions, at least at the end of the year, we can all sit back and be like, here's how. And the fact that we don't have this reseeding after the first round, and like you said, money aside, it shouldn't be a money thing. Like this whole, like, well, we want them to play to a neutral site for money. You know where you make more money is filling up the home team stadium.
Yeah. Fans pouring in.
But what they don't want to do is they don't want to split the profit with a school. That's why. They want all the money to go more to the ad sponsors. We want an equal distribution of tickets. And if we do a home game, we don't know how to do that. And it's like, I can tell you right now that if LSU was to host a home game, if LSU wins, South Carolina wins the conference, and they're sitting there at home playoff game, dude, there's not an atmosphere in the NFL that can touch that.
Exactly.
Touch it. People travel just to go to the parking lot to be outside of that game for that game. Like, you're going to have grandma selling her double wide to go to the, sorry, hon, we ain't living in Charlottesville no more. We're moving, living in Columbia. Like, that's what it's about. But we ain't getting that. Sorry.
Unfortunate.
Anything else?
My last bit on the CFP is just like, I get it, and I know why, but you go, okay, since the CFP is the one who's doing all these rankings, and this would be like my prove it thing, you go, why don't we start ranking them from the beginning? Why do we wait until the end to all of a sudden rank these teams in the CFP that matters? And what would be the logical answer? Because we don't really know. We haven't seen them play anybody. Okay, well then why do they all have preseason rankings? And why do we care about those so much? Like, why is Texas A&M 6? Or like, why? In what world and using what logic are you backing up that data? You have none. Get rid of it. Like, we got to, or start CFP ranking them from the very beginning. And I want detailed explanations from the very beginning of why each one of these teams. That way we can at least get some continuity in the logic. But we wait always until like the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season, and then it's just a mad scramble around, well, they're ranked this, but the CFP's got them this, and it's crazy.
Well, they also don't release the votes. Like, anytime someone's not willing to share how they voted, I sit back and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Collusion.
Yeah. Oh, you all voted for this team to be like this. Okay. Yeah. We'll just take your word at it. Like, if you go onto their website, one of the things that I find funny is they're like, well, based upon the number of committee members, statistically speaking, this is a good sample size. And I'm like, have you never heard of this statistic that says liars use statistics and statistics lie? Like, it's what we do. Like, you don't want to, and then it also doesn't help that the only people that interview the committee members is ESPN. Like, really looking forward to this matchup, but no one ever like throws the camera in their face and be like, can you explain to me how you rank this team like this, but then you rank this team, you punish one team this way, but then you rewarded another team? Can you just put the microphone right in their face to see this old dude, like you said, it looks like Mitch McConnell, just have a heart attack in front of the camera? Like, until I see dudes just start sweating about having to defend these picks, like, it's not working. Let's find out where the committee is in the off season.
That's right.
Anything else?
No.
It's good to be back.
Yeah. Get the NFL episode up next, so Pops can talk about how the Bears are not going to do it, especially when you're putting flowers in your ears.
I was done. That was it.
Trying.
I almost sent this out in text, but I wanted to say it live. That way I could get Pop's honest reaction. I almost feel awful for Pops every single week because I'm watching like a man go into depression. Like, I see this high hope, like, man, we got the first round pick. This could be great. And every week something happens where he's like, don't do this again to me.
The worst about last season was that it actually started low. Like, he was the first one to be like, he's not the guy. I don't want him. Like, we shouldn't do this. And then when they drafted him, he's like, no, I hate it. I don't like the pick. And then, like, before the season started, there was this, like, little crescendo of, like, you know what? I'm with you guys. He's actually pretty good. Let's do this. And then it was like, meh.
I mean, I still stand,
and I feel like
but I still stand by, like, if you go back and look, this is tangent for the NFL, but like if you look at his record or his stats versus Jaden Daniels' stats, like they're almost the same. And it's like Caleb Williams was running for his life last year and put up the same numbers as Jaden Daniels. He actually had, I think, less interceptions than Jaden Daniels. And it's just one of those things. It's like, okay, if he has somebody to block for him, I think he's going to be all right.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see where Pops has Chicago in his playoffs. I'll leave it at that. But, well, the great thing about the NFL, I love talking the NFL because I definitely feel like every year, there's going to be some surprises that happen. But at the same time, you're really just talking about, I'd say out of the 32 teams, about 8 that you sit back and you go, these are the teams that are going to win the Super Bowl at the end of the day. It makes it a lot easier to compare apples to oranges. Anything else? All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Time to pull chalks. We'll see you guys for our next episode, NFL.
Peace.